Let's solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. So the general form of a quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So by solving for x in this equation, we can use completing the square. So by solving this using completing the square, we can get this solution: x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Now this solution is very important. As we solved a general equation by completing the square, we can use this formula to solve any quadratic equation. So once we identify what a, b, and c are in the quadratic, we can just simply plug in these values of a, b, and c into this formula, and then we will get our solutions. So we call this formula as quadratic formula. Okay. So let's try solving this problem here by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so we're given here x squared plus 3x plus 2. So our based on our standard form of the quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c. So our a here is just equal to 1, and our b is just equal to 3, and c is just equal to 2. And now we can plug in all of these values to the formula: negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So let's plug in these values. So negative b, that is negative 3, plus minus square root of 3 squared minus 4 times a is 1 and c is 2 over 2 times a. Okay. Then we can simplify this one. So this is x squared, x is equal to negative 3 plus minus square root of 3 squared is 9 minus 4 times 1 times 2 is minus 8 over 2. And this is x equals negative 3 plus minus square root of 1 over 2. So we can evaluate plus minus here to get two answers. So our first x is equal to negative 3 plus square root of 1 over 2, or x is equal to negative 3 minus square root of 1 over 2. We can simplify that one further. So that would be negative 3 plus square root of 1. That is just negative 3 plus 1 over 2. So this is negative 2 over 2. So the value of x here is just equal to negative 1. Or x equals negative 3 minus 1 over 2. So this is negative 4 over 2. Then the other value for our x is equal to negative 2. So as we are solving using the quadratic formula, it is important to remember the equation must first be equal to 0. So in this case, our equation is already equal to 0. So we don't need to transpose or group like terms. So let's try this other problem here. So this problem equation here, quadratic equation here, isn't equal to 0. So first, we set this equation equal to 0. So we can subtract 30x plus 11 to both sides. So that is 25x squared minus 30x plus 11 And then the right side, minus 30x plus 11. So this one is equal to 0. So this would be 25x squared minus 30x plus 11 equals 0. Okay, you have to write this expression inside a parenthesis because of the minus sign here. You need to distribute the minus sign to each of the term inside the parenthesis. So this would become 25x squared minus 30x minus 11 equals 0. Now our quadratic equation is already equal to 0. Then we can just identify the values for our a, b, and c. So our a here is equal to 25, b is equal to negative 30, and c is equal to negative 11. Now we can just plug in all the values to the quadratic formula. X is equal to negative b, so negative of negative 30 plus minus square root of b squared, so negative 30 squared, minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. Okay, so this would be positive 30 plus minus square root of 30 squared is 900. Negative 4 times 25 times negative 11. So that is negative 100 times negative 11. So that is plus 1100 divided by 50. Okay, and now we can simplify the root. Okay, this is 2000. Okay, by simplifying the root, 2000 can be written as 20 squared. 20 times 20, okay, times 5. So okay, we can write this as 30 plus minus square root of 20 squared times 5 over 50. So we can write that as 30 plus minus 20 square root of 5 over 50. Then we can further simplify that. Okay, let's simplify that. Okay, 30 here, 20 and 50, they are all divisible by 10. So by dividing all of them by 10, 30 divided by 10, it will be x equals 3 plus minus 2 square root of 5. 50 divided by 10 is just 5. So this is our solution to this equation. Okay, let's try one more problem here. Okay, we're given this equation here. So first, we need to set the equation equal to 0. So let's subtract both sides by this one, this equation. It'll be minus 2x squared plus 6x minus 5. And this one too, minus 2x squared plus 6x minus 5. So this would be equal to 0. And this equation on the left would become 3x squared plus 4x plus 8 minus 2x squared plus 6x minus 5 equals 0. Okay, 3x squared plus 4x plus 8. Distributing the negative sign to the expression inside the parenthesis, it will be negative 2x squared, negative 6x plus 5 equals 0. And then we can group like terms, this one and this one. So 3 squared minus 2x squared, that is just x squared. 4x minus 6x, this one is negative 2x. 8 plus 5 is just 13 equals 0. And now we have our quadratic equation. So we can now identify the values for our a, b, c. So a here is equal to 1, b equals negative 2, and c is equal to 13. And now we can plug in all these values to the quadratic formula. So x is equal to negative b. We don't have much space here, so let's just delete this. Okay. So x is equal to negative b, so the negative of negative 2 plus minus b squared is negative 2 squared minus 4 times a times c over 2 times a. So let's simplify this. There will be x equals 2 plus minus negative 2 squared is 4. Negative 4 times 13, that is negative 52 over 2. So this would be x equals 2 plus minus 4 minus 52 is negative 48 over 2. So we will have here, when we simplify the root, we will get an imaginary number, complex number. So that would be x equals 2 plus minus negative 48 can be written as square root of negative 1 times square root of 48 over 2. And from our previous lesson, the square root of negative 1 is just equal to I, imaginary number. So this is 2 plus minus I times square root of 48 over 2. And then square root of 48 can be written as 16 times 3 would be 16 times 3. Okay, 2 plus minus I square root of 16 times 3 over 2. And 16 is a perfect square. Okay, so we can write this as x equals 2 plus minus I. 16 is square root of 16 is just 4. Okay, square root of 3 over 2. So this is what we get by simplifying the root. And we can reduce the fraction by dividing each term, this one, and this one by 2. So this would become x equals 1 plus minus 2i square root of 3. So this is our solution. So when we use the quadratic formula, we don't necessarily get two unique answers. We can end up with only one solution if the square root simplifies to 0. And if a term is missing from a quadratic, say our quadratic equation is ax squared, our standard form, plus bx plus c equals 0. If this term is missing, then b here should be equal to 0. Or if this term is missing, then c is equal to 0. Okay.